Let me read to you a passage from the 16th chapter of St. John's Gospel, verses 20 to 23. It's the Gospel for Friday of the 6th week in Eastertide. St. John writes, Jesus said to his disciples, I tell you the truth, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. A woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come. But when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because of her joy that a child is born into the world. So with you. Now is your time of grief, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy. In that day you will no longer ask me anything. I tell you the truth, my Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. That's from John chapter 16, verses 20 to 23. And what does it suggest to us? Well, you know, socialization, as we might call it, pervades the universe. The vast world of inanimate matter works one element with the other, and all things hum, we might say, in a great hive of collaboration. The fact that this breaks down all too often in catastrophes and mishaps just highlights what is happening normally. So too, vegetative life works in mutual dependence, and so does the insect and animal world. Wild dogs hunt in packs, as do prides of lions. That is to say, we see everywhere an impetus towards living and functioning in concert with one's own kind. Visible creation is social, and in this it reflects the character of the Creator. The Creator too is social. He is one in being, but he is a trinity of persons. Man, the child of God, is also social, and he craves to live and work with others, and his pain consists in this tendency being all too often frustrated and unfulfilled. Well now, in our Gospel passage today, our Lord sets forth before his disciples a stark contrast between them and the world. I tell you the truth, he says, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. Our Lord came promising and establishing a kingdom that is of God, and one that is the fulfillment of the world's deepest needs. But as St. John writes in the prologue of his Gospel, he came unto his own, and his own would not receive him. What causes the world to rejoice caused Christ to weep. So too with Christ's disciples. While they weep and mourn, the world will rejoice. A major research body discovers a method of improving, as they say, the human race, and it involves a profound tampering with the genetic constitution of the unborn human person. And the divide is unbridgeable, with Christians condemning and agitating against all legislation that would permit this scientific procedure to be allowed, while various scientists condemn the Church for its unenlightened stand. The Christian cannot be conformed to the world if he is to be conformed to Christ. Christ expects that his disciples will understand this very clearly and will know what to expect from the world. This is especially important for the modern lay Christian who lives in the world. The Church assists him by her teaching and preaching to know what Christ has revealed. And then it is the mission of the lay Christian to bring this to the world by his words, by his example, and by his daily work. Of course, he must strive to be effective and not to be unnecessarily offensive. But there are fundamental values to which he should bear witness daily in his secular environment. And that environment is his home, his recreational circle, his parish, and above all, his daily work, his work environment. He bears this witness, especially by his example, but when the occasion offers it, courageously also by his words. Firstly, this witness is a witness to the person of Christ. It is also a witness to where Christ is to be found, namely in his body, the church, founded on Peter and the apostles, and now guided by the successor of St. Peter and those bishops in communion with him. It is also a witness to the teaching and revelation of Christ in its numerous facets, and that teaching comes above all in the teaching of Christ's church. At times, this can be a matter full of drama and danger. Consider the Muslim who gradually becomes convinced that the true religion revealed by God is the Christian religion, and in particular that proclaimed by and subsisting in the Catholic Church. Depending on the country he dwells in, acting on that conviction and becoming a Christian himself by receiving baptism could easily bring the threat of assassination from extremists. If knowing this, he proceeds to receive baptism and takes his stand firmly by the side of Christ and is then killed precisely for doing this, he is a true martyr. This can happen in our day, but is but one instance of the disciple of Christ being unable to find his home in the world, his true home. The world, as Christ calls it, does not take its stand with Christ, and so it will rejoice while the disciple of Christ weeps. Let us keep our eyes steadfastly on the person of Christ and receive his teaching with the obedience of faith. It will mean a wrenching from the world in many matters as life proceeds, but a choice must be made. Two standards are to be seen flying aloft. One is the standard of Christ, the other the standard of the world, the flesh, and the devil. Let us take our stand with Christ and be prepared to carry his standard whithersoever Christ leads. Christ is our joy, joy for all ages.